We're about to dive into a passage of Scripture that is, without a doubt, one of the most devastating and yet one of the most necessary in the entire Bible. We're in the book of Romans, chapter 3, verses 9 through 20. And what we find here is a profound diagnosis of the human condition, a diagnosis that has to happen before we can ever truly appreciate the cure.
It begins with this thunderclap of a statement, a quote from the Psalms that the Apostle Paul brings forward with breathtaking force in Romans 3, verse 10. None is righteous, no, not one. Just let that sink in. It's a universal, absolute statement that leaves no wiggle room. And it sets the stage for everything that's about to follow.
So, what is really going on here? Well, this isn't just a random list of things people do wrong. Think of it more like a controlled demolition. It is a careful, systematic dismantling of any and every piece of confidence we might have in ourselves.
And let's be clear, this diagnosis, it's for everyone. The ground is perfectly level at the foot of the cross. The text says both Jews and Greeks are under sin. Now, in that time and place, that was the way of saying the entire human race. It doesn't matter what your religious background is, what your ethnicity is, how hard you try, this verdict applies to all.
The argument is laid out like an airtight legal case, a forensic indictment against humanity. It starts with our fundamental status. We are under sin. And from there, it shows how this condition affects every part of us. Our desires? No one seeks for God. Our intellect? No one understands. Even our words and our actions, they are all corrupted by this root problem.
And that phrase, under sin, is so crucial. It means so much more than just we sometimes mess up. It describes a state of being. It's like being the subject of a tyrannical king. Sin isn't just something we do. It's a power we are under, a force that holds us captive. So our problem isn't just bad behavior. It's that we are in bondage.
Okay, so if that's our condition, you might be asking, well, what about God's law? What about the 10 Commandments? Aren't they supposed to help? And right here, we learn the law's true purpose, which is so often misunderstood. It was never meant to be a ladder to climb up to God. It was meant to be a mirror.
In this great courtroom drama, Scripture itself is called to the witness stand. But it doesn't testify in our defense. No, the law and the prophets, the Old Testament, are brought in as the prosecution's evidence, confirming the universal diagnosis and proving the case beyond any doubt. And what's the point of all this? Romans 3, verse 19 tells us exactly why. So that every mouth may be stopped, and the whole world may be held accountable to God. The evidence is so overwhelming that there's nothing left to say. All of our excuses, all of our self-justifications, they're silenced. So let's really lock in this powerful analogy. We tend to think of God's law as a ladder. If I just try hard enough, if I just obey these rules, I can climb my way to God. But what it actually is a perfect mirror. And when we look into it, we don't see how good we are. We see the dirt on our face. We see our sin. We see that we could never make that climb on our own. Now, this all sounds pretty bleak, right? It sounds like the worst news possible. But this is the point in the story where everything turns. Because this devastating diagnosis, this crushing silence, it isn't the end of the story. In fact, it's what makes room for the rescuer to enter. This whole passage forces us to ask the most important question. If it's true, if no one is righteous, if no one even seeks for God, if the entire world stands guilty, then how can anyone be saved? What hope is there?
The only possible answer has to come from outside of us. If everyone is included in this indictment, then the solution has to come from someone who stands outside of it. We need someone who is not under sin. We need someone to stand in our place.
And do you see what's happening? This passage isn't just about tearing us down. It's profoundly pro-Christ. It's about clearing the stage of all the imposters, all our attempts at self-righteousness, so that when the true hero, Jesus Christ, appears, all eyes are on him. He is the only obedient Son, the only faithful man, the only one who is truly righteous. And this brings us to the most beautiful paradox of all. We begin to see the profound, breathtaking mercy that was hidden inside the seemingly harsh verdict all along. Because it's only when we go from our noises to God's silences that we can find the path to true salvation. If you take away just one thing, let it be this. The core truth of these verses is that God shuts every human mouth so that Christ alone may speak a word of salvation into that silence. Our silence is the necessary prelude to hearing His grace. You know, having our self-righteousness stripped away, it can be painful. But it is one of the most profound acts of God's grace you will ever experience.
It's His loving way of protecting us from the deadliest lie of all, the false hope that we could somehow save ourselves.
Because here is the glorious conclusion. It is only when our mouths are silenced, when our hands are empty, when we have absolutely nothing left to offer God, that we are finally, truly ready to receive everything from Him. We are ready to receive the perfect righteousness of Jesus Christ, given to us as a free gift. And to Him alone belongs all the glory.